Hey, what's up? This is Audio Gibbs, and we're here for an interview with Versatile Vigilante. Stay tuned.
Okay. Versatile Vigilante, Young Vince, Uncle Vinny. We're in Achieve Dream Studio, man, with the man behind the scenes. If you know, you know, Mr. Audio Gibbs.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, my guy?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me, bro. Appreciate you giving us the access to the studio today. Beautiful spot.
Hey, shout out to Webb.
Shout out to Webb, man. Very important part of Toronto. So, since we're in Achieve Dreams, let's start off from there. This is a place that you spend quite a bit of time at. How did this collaboration come about in the first place?
Man, well, I first went to Achieve Dreams as a producer, working with artist Jupiter Jax, and he had some of my beats, made some bangers with them, and I was there and as a producer and just like kind of taking it all in. Fast forward a couple years, I messaged Webb saying, you know, are you guys looking for any engineers right now? And a few months later, I ended up in the studio booking it again as a producer, and then from there, just started sending sessions, and then we started working. Now we're really working, so yeah.
Very dope, man. Very organic connection there. So this is your first full-length interview, correct?
I would say so.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Which means I want to know a little bit of the Audio Gibbs origin story. So let's talk a little bit about where you grew up and kind of how you even got into music in the first place, and we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was actually born in Belleville, Ontario, but my family moved to Whitby when I was young. So been in Durham region for most of my life. And I was actually thinking about this recently, like, how did I get into music? Because my mom loved music. My dad, like, he was a casual music person. He was a sports person. Well, he is a sports person. But growing up, like, I didn't have someone that was a musician, that was my family or something. We weren't playing instruments as a little kid. But I remember my dad got me an acoustic guitar when I was maybe 11, 12 years old. Didn't know what to do with it. The action on it was like super messed up, so you try to pick it up, and for someone that doesn't know how to play guitar at all, you have no chance of holding down the strings at all. So, and then it was maybe the next year that my friend, his older brother, had like a punk band.
Oh, sick.
And we were at his house, and I was just, what is this noise? Like, what is this? And from there, I don't know, I was hooked on music, just playing in bands, and then after a little while, making music with the computer. I started with Reason. My influences, just like the most abstract artists, like my biggest influences at that time, I think, were Aphex Twin and Madlib. So
both like, super fire.
But I had no chance of making any beats that any artist would rap on. It took me a long time to get there. And that's when I was like, when I was in the remix project, that's when I first started working with artists. That's also when I first started engineering. So really, like, starting, even now, I work mostly as a producer and engineer, DJ as well. But the way that I look at it is just as a musician.
Right.
Like, holistically, because that's what we're doing. We're making music. When you think of everything that there is to do, it could be a plumber, could be a banker, could be a lawyer, could be construction, anything. We're doing music. So I try to not get too caught up in exactly the little lines of what task we're doing. We're making music.
Right. No labels, no boundaries.
A little bit, yeah.
I like that a lot, bro. You mentioned something interesting where you're trying to get rappers to rap on your beats, and was that mainly the focus more than like making your own songs? Like, were you ever doing vocals yourself and stuff like that, or you're always looking to produce for someone else?
I've done vocals myself a little bit, especially when I first started music. We needed a vocalist, and we didn't have one. So at that time, I stepped up a little bit. That was brief. As soon as we could get a singer in our band, I was like, okay, I'll do backups.
Okay.
And since then, I haven't got into it as much. I was never really much for a rapper, even if it was on beats. What I would do vocally is more of more singing. But I haven't blossomed as a vocalist. There's no tracks out there with my vocals in the lead. There's a couple deep cuts with me on the backup vocals, but that's it right now. So I did tend to naturally collaborate more than be the artist myself.
Got it.
So whether as a producer, as an engineer, or both, collaborating and really turning up an artist is definitely what I've done more often than not.
Right, because you're kind of like, the producer is the majority of the song, really. Like, of course, we see the people that are putting the vocals on it, but the whole beat, all the background stuff, it's most of the song, but you guys kind of have to take that back seat in a way.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it recently, and the way that I thought of it was, it's almost like a video game where the vocalist is like the main character in the game, and the beat or the instrumentation or what have you is the world that main character is in.
Right.
One without the other, if you have a video game with just a background, it wouldn't really be complete.
Right.
And if you just had a main character floating in space, it also wouldn't be complete. So it all goes together.
It's a good way to look at it, bro. And how you mentioned Remix Project kind of helped you get working with more artists. How did that come to be in the first place?
My friend, Makalaman, also known as Brother Aki.
Okay.
He was in the Remix Project, told me about it, seemed amazing. Just seemed like I needed to go there. I applied 1 year, didn't get in. I didn't really have it all together. I was still super abstract too. And then I applied the next year, and I remember saying it was DJ Agile and Hagler who were like the music guys at that time. And I remember we had the interview, and I went back and I opened the door. I was like, guys, like, I don't know how to say this, but I really want to be in the program. and then that year I got in, and I spent as much time as I could there. Learned like so much. DJ Agile's still like a mentor that I'm in touch with regularly, and that's where I really picked up engineering. Prior to that, I had tried to use light versions of programs to record whatever I'm doing, using Reason, a little bit of Ableton at that time, but that was my first time using Pro Tools, first time in like a actual studio, first time recording with like a Neumann U87 and like an Avalon preamp and all that kind of stuff. And first time really working with vocalists that way. Prior to that, yeah, whatever we were doing, just kind of me and my friends figuring stuff out. But then at Remix, I'm actually in the studio, actually getting training. So that was a huge experience for me.
Dope. I like how you said you just straight up told them you want to be a part of it. And I think that honesty sometimes is just the best way to do it. Like, you could dress it up and say this. Bro, I just want to be here. How do we make this happen? I think sometimes that's the best way.
Because the real feeling, you can't really fake it.
Yeah.
Because I also worked a day job for many years, and so I had to kind of force it to do that stuff. That's a tough part of being an artist, I think. You have this thing that you know, like it feels like nothing else. Like there's such a sense of purpose, such a sense of satisfaction, such a sense of I don't know, you just feel like you're in the right place at the right time. When you're in that flow state doing what you do as an artist, it's a different experience. And if you have to do something else to make a living and pay rent or what have you, it's hard to compare those things. Like, so sometimes, especially like that, I definitely felt that way, is that I had to kind of force it to do the day job kind of thing. Hard not to talk about music 24/7 with my coworkers who are not interested in music at all. Working 9 to 5, but then working 5 to whatever.
Yeah.
Back to back, like intense.
It's super relatable, bro. And I think a lot of my audience is probably in a similar point of their life too, where it's like, I have a passion, I know what I want to do, but I got bills to pay, and I'm certainly in that boat as well. And you touch on such an interesting point, bro. You could have had the craziest night in the stuff you really want to do, and then you got to go to work and play office politics and all this shit. It's such a weird balance, man.
in the music world, at least, going the next day and having this fire song to listen to in your in your headphones or what have you, there's nothing like that. The rest of the day, anything could be going on. If I had that song from last night that was just amazing, you guys you can do whatever. There could be any kind of problem. There could be any issue at work. I'm going like super 10 times. I'm good.
Fuck it. We made a banger. You guys handle this.
A few hours of sleep, fine. Like
yeah, it's so true, man. I like how you said like it's something that you get satisfaction from, and I think that's the key. I really want to talk to you too, because I think in especially like rap and music, there's a lot of people that get in it just to blow up, make a hit, like for clout purposes, and I don't think that addresses like the soul. You know what I mean? Do you see that a lot in the studio? Like, where you're around people that are really in it, and then people where, I don't know if your heart's really in this.
Yeah, of course. What I would say, what that makes me think of is when you're doing it like that, you're missing out so much. Just doing it for clout or something. I mean, you have this whole world of music. You're barely scratching the surface. But I know not everyone is into music like that. That's okay. There was one more thing I want to say about the day jobs too, because I do think it's important. Right now, cost of living is crazy. Like it's not easy to be renting anywhere. It's not easy, period.
No. If
you can find a way that your day job is at least in some kind of proximity to what you want to do, already that's a massive win. Like thinking of an artist, a vocalist, also works at one of the kind of music hubs in the city. Manifesto, just an example.
Right.
That already is a massive plus compared to working at something totally unrelated. But even if you're doing something unrelated, that's okay. Like that way, if one of the big pluses of working a day job is you have your income taken care of. So now artistically, you can do literally whatever you want. You can pay and obviously, especially for artists, this is one thing that I think is a tough part for artists right now. Artists have to pay for a lot of things. They have to pay for the studio. They have to pay for a video. They have to pay for marketing.
Right.
If they're putting on an event, they have to rent the venue. There's more. But it's hard to make money as an artist. Streaming is like very, I don't know what the word is, ephemeral. It's like, it's mysterious. It's hard to even say how that works exactly.
Yeah, there's no consistent like pay stub for that.
Not at all. Yeah. You have to research even to figure out how streaming money comes in at all.
Yeah.
Which organizations to sign up for. There's more than one. You have to have a lot of business all in a row to get paid that way. And you have to run up the streams like crazy to make a substantial amount of money. If you think about making $30,000 off streaming, that's like, whoa, that's a big deal. But making $30,000 a year right now is a struggle.
Right.
So that's a major pain point right there. How else do artists make money? I think of events. Even for a lot of rappers in the city, it's hard to even do an event. For a lot of artists, it's hard to say, I'm going to be at this place at this time. That's almost like a big no-no, but that's exactly what you need to do to perform.
Right.
But on the other hand, artists are able to do these things, whereas in the past you would need to be signed even to get into a studio. So to have a way to make money is good, and I'm
no, for sure, man, because it takes Kyle, shout out Composed by Kyle in the background. Sir. Appreciate you, bro.
All right,
gang. Shout out Durham as well.
Yeah.
I like the point you said about the balance, where if you're making money doing a day job, it allows you to pay for like the dream you're trying to chase. Also, I feel it takes pressure off you a little bit creatively, because if your sole focus is, I got to make money off this, I've heard other artists talk about that, where maybe they do something where it's not true to them. It's not like selling out's a strong term, but doing something where they know they really didn't want to do it, but I got bills to pay. And I think that's a factor too, where compromise, exactly right. And that's something that's definitely a challenge. So the 9 to 5 might not be sexy at all, but I think especially if you're a young artist or anyone trying to build their own thing, you need that income, man.
Yeah. I know a lot of people take certain risks to instead of that too. That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
Then those risks have penalties too. But yeah, it's definitely the path of an artist is not an easy one.
No, it's not.
That's
and
for sure.
Are you full-time in music?
I'm full-time in music now.
When did you decide to go that route and kind of drop the 9 to 5 and essentially go all in?
It's only been probably 1.5 years.
Okay.
I was freelancing for a long time, and maybe this is something that I reflect on too. A lot of times I would have like, oh, should I have, like, where did I go wrong? Like, should I have done this that way? Why is this taking so long? Because through my 20s, my strategy as a producer and engineer, and my strategy and what I naturally tended to go towards was building with artists. I wanted to build something from the ground up, make a new sound, and do it like that, as opposed to going for placements, messaging a lot of people,
right?
Like spamming people's emails and stuff. I was not naturally inclined to that, and I've seen people have great success that way. I remember when I was seeing like Murder Beats go with Migos and seeing how he was messaging, I think one of the guys in their camp, and one thing leads to another, and boom. And of course I did some of that and stuff. It didn't click for me that way. For me, I'm building with artists like, man, one artist that I build with the most, Block Uno. It's hard to find his music online right now. He keeps it like a secret. We made some amazing music together. And the tough part is if we can't have one of those albums, or if we can't make those blow up, then we're still on the grind for a long time. And oh man, I'm way around the point. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Nah, man, I like what you're saying, because even when you mentioned that Madlib is a big influence for you, and he's got that several albums where you just locked in with one rapper. The main one that comes to my mind was the Freddie Gibbs link ups, and I think that's a good way to build that chemistry, right? Where it's like you could send everyone in the world a beat, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have a chemistry. When you lock in with someone, it's like, okay, we're learning each other's strengths and weaknesses and growing together, kind of building a team essentially. So I see where you're coming from for sure.
I still feel that way. Really picturing where I would like to go in music, I still see it very much that way.
Right.
Even like last night, I work with an organization where we work with youth and make music, and it's more than making music. It's kind of almost like a kind of a community thing. Yes. But we're making.
What's it called, sir?
It's called Beat Builders.
Beat Builders, dope.
Yeah, and we made something amazing last night, but it's very organic. As one person's doing this, another person, the other staff, like the youth worker that I'm working with, he's on the MPC. We have a little sample loaded up, and he's just kind of tapping away. And at the same time, I'm one of the participants wants to chop up this sample. I'm downloading it. I'm trying to get it in place and set it up for him, and all these things are almost just all falling into place. Everyone's making up their own verse and so on, and it all kind of comes together so fast. And I've experienced that a lot of times, where in the studio, just a bunch of talented artists working together, and I think that's maybe one of my things is putting it all together somehow. A lot of times we work on the computer, so just a matter of somehow getting all this stuff to kind of click at the same time. We have beats There have been times where the beat is not even made yet, but we're in the booth at the same time. Like
Right.
it's just a loop, and we've got a hook coming in, and trying to figure out how to put those in the same world and the same program. And there's nothing like making music like that. That's just a different thing.
Yeah, turning really nothing into something
Yeah.
amazing. That building, man. We talked about any of those. Like you mentioned, you can be a plumber, you can be an electrician. Like I think all of those things have that similarity to where this was not a thing, and now we did something, and now it's a thing, and that gets addictive, man.
There's a different satisfaction to that kind of work. Even as a carpenter, you make something and you made that, and there it is.
Yeah, this did not exist prior to us doing this, and now it exists.
And
like,
with
that's
art, it's
crazy.
Creative expression is like, wow. And music, you can't hold it, you can't see it, you can't smell it.
Yeah,
Like
it's purely...
It's just in the air, but it can make someone cry. It can make someone jump up and down, like make people dance.
Real shit.
So music is different that way. And music is one of the few things, a lot of jobs that we have today, I think about what is the equivalent of this basically throughout history. If you go back to ancient times, what's the equivalent of anything? But music is one of those things where it's like we've always been doing music.
Constant.
We've always been cooking.
Yeah.
There's just a few things like that remain almost unchanged. Now we have all this technology, but even if you have a sampler or something, a lot of people just make beats by clicking it in, but a lot of us too, we're tapping on the pads or what have you.
Yeah.
If you're DJing, at a certain point, you're still doing something that's not that different than just like hitting a drum, you know?
100%. You seem like you're a fan of Alchemist. Are you an Alchemist fan?
A little bit, but I can't say I'm too heavy with him.
Okay, I made an assumption there, but he does some sick vlogs. Like when he goes on tour, he does some really good vlogs. And I was watching one recently, and he was DJing in Nova Scotia, and he's talking about, he's like, I've done 1 million shows, man. I've done this so many times, and I still have so much fun doing it.
Oh, man.
And it was very inspiring to me, who I'm not a DJ, but there's things I really enjoy to do, and when you still just purely do it for the love of it, it's nothing can beat that, bro. It's like I would do this for free.
Performance is a different world. It's amazing. There's no feeling like that.
When was your first? Were you performing right off the bat, or did that take a while? You were pretty early.
The way that I got into music is like, you start a band and you maybe can do a battle of the bands or something like that. I remember the first time I ever did a show, just completely was totally out of character in the sense that I was very like in the spotlight, like playing guitar, like it's
rock star shit.
Exactly. I think my parents were probably like, "Whoa, who is this?" But we killed it. It was amazing. So like performance is a different feeling now. Like for me, when I'm performing most often, it's as a DJ.
Right.
And DJing is another amazing feeling. Just things that happen like as you're DJing, mixing up songs and so on. Like one of my favorite things is when two songs go together in a certain way that you could even try it again later, but it might not feel the same. Like, and the one song by itself is great, this song is great, but this moment where they went together, and depending on what's happening in the room, we're just vibrating. It feels like we're just gonna take off into the air. Like it's an amazing feeling, and yeah.
Moment in time.
Performance, even the nerves. I always feel like with performance. There's like stage fright,
right?
Anxiety, but that anxiety is like, it's like a two-sided coin where on one side is anxiety, the other side of the coin is excitement.
Absolutely.
You're just super excited.
Yeah, you kind of you stop thinking almost. It just becomes like we're in it now. That's
why practice is important.
True.
It's because it's almost like in sports now where you can't be thinking too much. You just got to do it.
Very true. Yeah, you're absolutely. That's a great way to look at it. That time in the studio helps you get ready for that time on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Very real. So you're working with do you work mostly with rappers, or is it a combo of singers? What's it looking like for you right now?
I think right now more rappers than anything. Also singers and everywhere in between, because there is a big in between at this point.
Right. Music's gone a long way, man. 2024. But I was gonna ask you, working with a lot, especially rappers in Toronto. Toronto, I remember we talked about this last time I saw you, where it could be a very dangerous profession to be a rapper in Toronto, especially if you're rapping about certain topics. When you're in the studio and it's kind of that type of vibe, how do you feel with that? How does that kind of sit with you?
Well,
and you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of darker subject matter.
First of all, for me, if depending on the capacity I'm in, as an engineer first and foremost, or as a producer, as an engineer especially, I'm working with the artist to bring their vision to an MP3.
Right.
That whole process. So it is about their vision first of all. And I find that I understand an artist a lot more as I'm working with them. And the other side of it too, like we went through where I'm coming from. I'm coming from Durham region. I am not coming from a place of fearing for my life when I'm 14.
Yeah.
Or my friends getting killed, wanting to kill someone else. I never felt those things. A lot of people in the city do feel those things, and that can't be understated, underappreciated.
Yeah, it's real in their world. It's real.
I will say that when it's like violence for violence sake, or especially where it's exploiting these things,
mm-hmm.
that can be a turnoff for me. And I don't like when I see that happen. In the work that I do, I find that I don't encounter a lot of things where I don't like what the artist is doing. I don't know why that is. When I'm working with an artist, I definitely really like maybe we've just met and we have a 2-hour session only, but for that time we're working as a team, we're working together, and I don't know. That's a tough one. I find that I don't really have. I never feel in the studio that we're at odds. I can't think of any time where I felt like that. I definitely want to see things get better in the city, because it is extremely crazy. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening. It's incredibly devastating when someone gets taken away from this. Like, one day your health is at 100 and the next day that person's health is at 0. It's absolutely crazy. People in the prime of their lives, like literally just full of energy and excitement and laughter, and sometimes these hard tracks are being made and we're having a great time. There's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of good times. Talking about like artists that are really living that lifestyle, and it's really that intense. Being in the studio is a safe place, and it's like that's a whole other. A lot of times I'm seeing an artist in a way that a lot of people don't get to see them. They probably don't get to be as comfortable as they can be in a studio environment and expressing themselves and so on. So it's to know what happens in the city where people that are so bright can have that light extinguished, it honestly is heartbreaking and really messed up.
It really is, bro. And like I that was a question I really wanted to ask you, because also, like, shout out Chef Habib, that's where I met you, and Chef, fucking love that guy and his whole crew, and they're young guys, you know, and they're really doing their thing. You're a little older, I'm a little older than them too, and you mentioned earlier in the interview that you're in your 20s. That was time where you were trying different shit and experimenting with your music and your career, learning what to do and not to do. And a lot of these artists are so fucking young, and they're in such deep shit where it's like, no, they're not worried about experimenting in their 20s, they're worried about surviving their 20s. And it's so fucking crazy to see, because I'm sure you would agree, like, once you get a little older, you realize there's so much to do, so many things, and it's like you're just caught in this one thing right now, and it's very scary, bro. Like, it's not much to say about other than that, I think, right?
Yeah. A lot of people are living day to day.
Yeah.
And there's a long way to go in life, trying to live a long life. Just in your teens and your 20s, there's still a long way to go. Even for, like, I don't know, a lot of people do drugs and everything too.
Yeah.
If you're getting addicted to something this early, like, that's not gonna go away. You're always gonna have to fight that for a long time too. Like, yeah. So it's intense, man. I mean, the path of an artist is different. I don't know why artists often tend to have crazy lives.
It's interesting, right? Even in like, we're talking about more rap, but like, you're a music guy in rock history and blues history and every genre, even pop, man.
Man, you can look at painters,
film directors, everyone.
Chop their ear off or something.
For exactly, like, hundreds of years ago. It is very interesting to think about. So it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to see that, but also I like hearing people like you where there's another side. Like, we can do this organically and build and stay, like, living pretty healthy lives, you know, for the most part, pretty drama-free lives.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be this way.
No.
It wasn't that long ago that it wasn't as high temperature. It doesn't have to be this much.
Right.
And it's not gonna go away like that. And there's a lot of things I don't understand, but I definitely hope and believe that it can be better.
Well said, bro. I agree. I fully agree. So for someone that you make a living in music, man, and that's such a fucking awesome achievement, super dope. If someone, let's say someone in high school or something, they love music, similar to how you were. Maybe they're not trying to be a singer or a rapper. Maybe they want to be a little more behind the scenes. What piece of advice would you give them to maybe get a foot in the door, or just even start?
Just start.
Yeah.
That would probably be the number one thing. You got to just start, try things. You might find out that what you thought you would like, actually it's not really doing it for you.
Right.
On the other hand, you might try something that you weren't thinking of doing, and actually, whoa, I want to be a rapper, but actually making beats is sick. Like, whoa, I could do both. I would say try everything, like, at least try it. And keep in mind also that the start is the hardest part in a lot of ways. When you just start doing something, especially if you have taste, it's going to be hard, because what you're going to make is not going to be necessarily the best stuff. You're just starting. And you're used to your favorite artists and a level of artistic excellence that is way up here. It's unrealistic expectation that your first thing is going to be like that.
Right.
So you're gonna have to go through a lot of times where you're gonna make something, you'll be excited about it in the moment, you'll play it the next day and be like, it's not it. And that's tough. Even people are telling you to release the stuff, release your music, and you're like, it's not it. That's a hard one. But yeah, for anyone just starting out with this kind of thing, try things. Just try it, push through. Like, when you find something that you're really onto, like, go for it. Specifically talking about producers and engineers and so on, I would say don't get too caught up with the gear. That can be a thing that happens. Sometimes people get more into the gear than actually the music, and that doesn't really lead anywhere. Dissatisfaction, if anything. A lot of the best stuff is made on just a little bit. There's a lot of creativity and limitations. So even if you're just on BandLab, that might make you do something. You might have to get creative in a way that you wouldn't if you had all the resources at your disposal. So don't be discouraged by that. Let's see.
I like that point a lot, because
you're
you're absolutely right, man. And I feel like if you're just in the mindset of I need the biggest and best equipment, you're already kind of limiting yourself and preventing yourself from that start.
And don't get me wrong, like when it comes to audio, that high quality, the gear that like that CL1B or these speakers that you can hear a pin drop in the middle of a banger. that Neumann mic going through the Neve preamp into the CL1B, that sweet vocal chain, you're gonna have a sound that is just very beautiful and everything. And for the engineers especially, I recommend getting into a place where you do have a high quality listening environment as soon as possible, because you're just gonna hear things different. So don't get me wrong, that gear is very amazing too, but only in the hands of someone who knows what to do with it.
100%.
So you definitely want to, in those early days in the basement, what have you, go for it, try it, experiment, like just like break through all those walls, figure out how to use a compressor by just squashing the stuff and adjusting the parameters, figure out how the stuff works, and then once you can work with that stuff, and then you're with the real high quality stuff, you're gonna be off to the races. So
real shit. And history's littered with that too, of bands and artists starting in their basement, garage, fucking closet.
Yeah,
it's been done. So I like that. That's really good advice, bro. So I was doing a little bit of a deep dive on your Instagram, the Nardwar part of the interview here. Did you have a fucking song with Nelly Furtado?
Remix? Yes. It's almost, I think it's an unofficial remix.
Okay.
It was like released on her SoundCloud, I think. There's another unheard track out there. That one's actually pretty sweet. Actually, that's a few years old now.
Yeah.
But that's a major shout out to Cadence Weapon, another great artist. I feel like one of the great Canadian artists. Okay. I think about like the Tragically Hip and so on, like these Canadian people that can actually talk about Canada.
Yeah.
Rolly, like Cadence Weapon, he's one of those guys. He comes from Alberta. He's lived in Quebec a lot of time, in Montreal, Mile End, like. He's lived in Toronto. I think he's based in Toronto now, maybe Hamilton, and he's toured all over the place. I feel that he is an artist that can talk about Canada in a way that I don't know who else can. Every artist is different, first of all, but right. Yeah, he's really someone that I think is a Canadian legend. Just even aside from just as an artist himself, and his art speaks to much more than Canada, but. Rolly, yeah. Shout out to Ricardo again. This is another thing talk about. I was in the Remix project. One thing about Remix and other organizations like that in the city, I met so many people, and then after Remix, every friend of a friend that I met in Remix, now my network jumped that far, and then again the friend of a friend of a friend, and so on up until now. I'm probably still meeting people that is coming somehow from my time in Remix. Ricardo Chung introduced me to Cadence Weapon, and he really just provided Rolly with some of my beats, and we just hit it off. We made some amazing stuff. See, for him, with my super obscure music, abstract back. My brother, my brother was, if he wants me to play music or whatever, he's like, but don't play the obscure stuff. Don't play like the deep cut. Just play.
Love that.
So
He
I'm
wants
like
the radio
Mr.
hits.
Obscure. So Cadence Weapon, man, like he's a writer as well. He's deep in music. So he totally understood that side of me as well. And we made music together really easily. And his 2018 album, self-titled Cadence Weapon, I've got a couple beats on there. But that is how the Nelly Furtado connection happened there.
Lit.
That was his session, and she was there. And, oh, man, I wish you guys could hear this song. Hopefully one day you can.
Yeah,
because
man.
It's a cool song. But the remix, you can definitely hear the Behind Your Back remix. Yeah.
I love that. I love Nelly Furtado. Again, I was like a Canadian legend. Huge.
Nelly Furtado featuring Cadence Weapon.
That's
on the
fucking
remix.
hard, man.
So, yeah.
Gonna play that on the way home
Yeah.
in the car. No, that's fucking lit, bro. And then also I saw you did something this was more recent. I had like a Honda project.
Shout out Jesse Jones. Yeah.
Talk about that, bro. That looked pretty sick.
Jesse Jones. Jesse Jones is a person, he describes himself as a connector of worlds. I think that might not be word for word, but that's like the perfect description. He's an amazing, he's like basically foundational in the city, because he's told me about what his parents did with music promotion in the city, bringing a lot of reggae artists to the city, and I believe also in theater. So he's been kind of in the world of performing arts since he was young. And now he's in marketing, first and foremost, I believe. He was bringing us together in the studio, at producers and artists. For that Honda spot there, we were really showcasing some music that we made with Isis. Amazing reggae song that we created just from that kind of connection. And that was at Nightlight Recording Studios in Brampton. Jesse Jones is doing some amazing stuff for Brampton. He's really like turning
one of the
Brampton
music hubs of Canada, in my opinion.
Low
Brampton,
key.
Durham and Brampton, both two very important places in the country right now.
Yeah, so that was definitely very cool. And then Honda, because with Jesse working in marketing, connector of worlds, he has a lot of connections that he makes. So
love that.
Yeah, that was a good opportunity for Honda to get a little bit of association with a different kind of sound that we not necessarily every day deal with. So yeah, that was very cool.
That's a really dope thing, man. Check out this on Gibbs Instagram. Very dope little project there.
Yep, Instagram at Audio Gibbs, Audio GIBB.
Yes, sir. We'll put that up on the screen.
Yeah.
You touched on it a little bit too in the interview about kind of the importance of networking, being a producer, even something like this where you're being in front of the camera. Do you feel like your personality plays a big part in the work you get, the work you do?
It does, in a few ways. First of all, yeah, like being in front of the camera is unusual for me. First of all, like I'm in the position of the artist almost, and I'm not used to that necessarily. It's a little uncomfortable. It's a little exciting.
Very rare.
It's cool. And this is me pushing my comfort zone as well. I feel that's very important.
Yeah.
And yeah, even speaking with someone recently, he's always saying, I'm Mr. Behind the Scenes guy, Mr. Behind the Scenes guy. And he was turning 24, and he was saying to us, like, what advice would you give your 24-year-old self? And with him saying that behind the scenes stuff, and me thinking of it also, was like, careful being behind the scenes too much. Like, you don't want to behind the scenes yourself right out of the picture.
Facts.
Another remix project trivia, like in remix, at the end of the year, at the end of the program, take a big photo with everyone in it. I don't know how this happened. I didn't mean to, but again, I don't know if I somehow in the back of my mind did this to myself, but if you saw the original photo, you cannot see me. I'm behind someone's head. My face is not there. Ruth at Remix at that time did some magic. I don't even know where she got a photo of me. and she photoshopped me in there.
Shout out Ruth.
Yeah, like that's true kindness and thoughtfulness right there. Because I basically behind the scenes myself right out of the picture. So
Subconsciously.
yeah. So that is something not to do. Also talking about personality and so on, just even like in the studio, it's huge. I remember Metro Boomin was in Toronto, All-Star Weekend, the coldest weekend of all time in Toronto.
2016.
And he was talking about, I don't know what, but one of the things was about him is his energy is very key. Just he says that when he's with people, his energy tends to just kind of like turn it up a little bit. Just everyone feels good and so on. Your energy in the studio is very important. If you're standoffish or if you're kind of insecure in your own thing or in your head or you're not communicating properly, that can be tough. Like I at a certain point, I felt like from the reaction I was getting from people that I was coming across in a way different than I felt. Like I think that I was really closed off to people, even though I'm having a great time and stuff. I think that I was coming across almost as if I'm not, or if
right.
I'm very like reserved or not even breaking a smile or something. I think that I had to really let myself let my feelings kind of come out a little bit. In the studio, it's so key to be having open communication, like open, honest, supportive, real communication. Your personality is very important, and to connect and to be like to work together, it's your personality is definitely key.
I 100% feel that, and especially as an artist too. Like when you're rapping, singing, whatever, a lot of the best music of all time. They're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
They're letting everything they have out, and probably be tough to do that if you're not comfortable with the team you're working with. So I for sure can feel that.
Yeah, like sometimes you might not want to have anyone in the room, but you might need to have an engineer or something.
Yeah.
So if you're an engineer in that position, you really have to, like your energy has to be able to facilitate that.
Yes, I for sure feel that.
And you may also have to have input at certain times. Sometimes it's not your time to speak up. Sometimes you have to speak up. If you don't, then there's an opportunity being missed, or the song wouldn't be what it needs to be. Like, you have to speak up at that moment.
Yeah.
To be able to correctly determine which of those it is that's the first step, and then to do it right is the next step. Like, the energy is so important right there.
You're almost like it's like you got to be a coach.
Yeah.
Like
Sometimes
motivate.
Coach, sometimes like a therapist.
Yes.
Almost like
all in one.
some artists. Multiple times artists say this is a therapy session.
Yeah.
And you're not a therapist in the sense that you're literally just having a conversation the whole time, but like as we do music together, it's similar to sports again. You're not just talking the whole time, but there's a communication. Like, I know you're about to be right there. I can pass the ball without looking. You don't even need to say what you want me to do right now. Like, I already have it ready for you. Like, all right, we're punching in right there. Like, it's just clicking.
Absolutely, man. That's synergy.
Yeah.
And you're right, man. It comes from that experience, and it comes from that comfortability with each other. And I also like, to your point too, where like sometimes you gotta be maybe the bad cop and be like, this isn't working, we gotta do something else. Like, that's huge. You can't be a yes man.
Yeah, correct.
It's all in one.
Correct. Sometimes that's the hard part for me.
For sure.
Stopping things, shutting things down. Like, like saying like no, that wasn't it or whatever. That maybe be sometimes hard for me because
It's uncomfortable.
and for me, I can always see like I like this part about it. Like so for me sometimes in where it's like maybe don't do that, but what you did right there, I really like that. Like go that way.
Which is an extremely valuable skill, bro, because you're dealing with humans. You can't just say this is trash. Oh, you got to speak to someone with respect and keep them in the game. Another sports reference we see all the time, like a coach can just break a player down and then you lose them, and then the relationship's essentially gone. You got to know how to communicate.
Yeah, because sometimes the communication has to be super direct. Like,
yes.
It has to be very direct, and that's also efficient, time-wise and so on. And just because the creative flow is happening so fast, you got to keep up. We can't have a big conversation. Like, we just have to. So that can be very important, too. But then also, on the other hand, sometimes it has to be very sensitive. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're a therapist, bro. We're going to get you a licensed son on the wall here, man. And, you know, and even I like that you and Chef work together nicely because he's someone I see like such potential in. For his age, extremely mature. So, you know, shout out to the chef again, man. I see him.
Chef for real. Like,
yeah,
he's just
you guys have good chemistry. I already know.
Yeah, me and him, I don't know, just from day one, we already were on the same wavelength.
Love that.
With his music, he is just going for it, and he's expressing himself and following his creative vision. And he's a producer. He's collaborating with artists and everything. But he's a visionary himself. So.
He is, bro. I really appreciate about him how he's not scared to try shit. Like even when I was linked up with him last time, he was talking about how he wants to expand his horizons, go to like art shows, go to other things. And as a music producer, that could only help you, man. Like fuck, you're gonna see so much new shit. Probably much more creativity, inspiration. Very important, man.
You know me. I mean, that's how I feel. That's one of the tried and true ways of getting past some kind of creative block as well. You're stuck with what you're doing on this particular art form. You take in a whole other art form, that really might spark something for you.
100%.
Just like there's so much you can learn. I feel like when you learn something and apply it to a whole other discipline, that's a lot of times how the best things happen.
I think so for sure, man. You're a big music guy. Like one of my favorite scenes, I was never there obviously, but the factory with the
Andy Warhol and stuff.
Yeah, and like Velvet Underground, those guys like all in different forms of art but always together, and I find that so fucking cool, man, when you're blending that type of thing.
Yeah. And like with them,
awesome.
I know they have fashion interlaced with what they've got headless, really
man
in the mix.
I see. I don't think they know what the factory is, but I see it as like a mini like new kind of that. Like it's its own ecosystem. What these guys are building, man.
Yeah.
Like they got everything.
Well, that's another topic on my mind lately is AI, and it makes me think about. If you think about when photography was invented, I've heard that when photography was invented, it made painters do what they do differently, because now what's the point of painting exactly as it is? Like, we can take a photo of this landscape, or we can take a photo of this apple, and like, what's the point of painting that now? So it went really expressionist. It's something that you can't take a photo of.
Yeah.
With AI, it definitely makes me think that perfection is now pointless, because really, like, everyone knows like the imperfections in art and whatever. But what does that really mean? If you think about it, it can mean a lot of things. But basically, an imperfection is something that AI can't really do.
Yeah.
Because even if they're trained on music with imperfections, and it might replicate those imperfections or whatever, but it can't organically make a mistake or stumble on something that way.
Definitely not.
Kind of hard to put into words, but that I feel like is where people working together and kind of that same organic way that we're talking about earlier is really going to stand out.
I completely agree, bro. And another, like, your punk fan, like the 70s, it's like CBGB stuff, like same type of thing. Like that was at the time when disco was like the main shit, and these guys were completely on the outside of that, and they built their own little community.
Well, that's the cycles, because when they say like history doesn't repeat, it rhymes.
I love that quote.
Like in music, I feel that's a big thing. So in music, I think we kind of build something up, and then the next generation tears it down, because especially with punk, a lot of what they were responding to was like, oh, Pink Floyd, like Led Zeppelin, like screw them.
Yeah, they were like anti-guitar solo, like anti like 7-minute songs.
And see, this is one thing, when we're listening to music in the past or whatever, nostalgia in the past, it's only the best stuff that survives all the way till we hear it. So we listen to Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd, and it's like, it's sick. Like, oh, this is cool. I mean, you can objectively see where things kind of,
for sure,
whatever. But in the moment, there was probably so much trash, and they're probably going to bars and all the people imitating them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. We need to just destroy this.
Yes.
So I feel like punk rock is definitely like the stadium tours, the rich rock stars and private jets and all this kind of stuff. Like the punks just tore that down. When it came to disco, the house music guys and that house music world just totally people think that disco died, but really it kind of like into house music and stuff like that, and garage, and Chicago, New York, Baltimore, Jersey, Detroit with techno. Techno is another one. Techno is like taking the industrial wasteland in Detroit. The techno artists are always talking about their environment, with Detroit being the motor city, and then that whole industry kind of abandoning it. Got like the riots and the fires in the late 60s, having raves and burned out abandoned warehouses and stuff. So the way that music kind of cycles and repeats, and I think that we're at a major transition point right now. I think that the past decade, 2 decades, that thing, we built it up so much, and now the next generation is definitely tearing that down, because the world is changing all the time, society is changing all the time, culturally, economically, like all these factors. So yeah, we're in a really exciting time for music right now, first of all.
We are, bro. And something that probably the scene that I was most excited about was and I got a lot of like critical panning from a lot of people. I loved it, like the SoundCloud Lil Peep era, one of my favorite artists of all time. But like all those kids, and it's so fascinating because I feel they were like the new punks in a way, where they were making music in their fucking garage and bedrooms and shit, but doing serious numbers, and the kids were really into it. And similar to the punk shit, like it was extremely short-lived because those guys lived hard lives, you know. And when you mentioned the AI of how you can't replicate that spirit, that energy, after Lil Peep, there were so many Lil Peep clones, Lil Pump clones, and I feel like that was a kind of AI right there too, you know? AI
is basically the next level of that, because we do that naturally. There's the innovators and then the impersonators, but now AI is like the replicator. I feel now, if you're an artist, you make it, now you basically have to stay one step ahead of AI. Facts. It's an artist that has a lot of music released, that's more for the AI to train, so the AI can replicate it even better. But so if you're an artist that your music can be replicated very easy, I think that's going to be difficult. So now as an artist, you almost need to be hard to replicate to survive.
Yeah, like I was about to say, like, oh, fuck AI, like I'll never listen to an AI, but sometimes you won't even be able to tell, which is kind of crazy. I
bet that's probably already happening.
For sure.
I think the first stuff to go kind of is like the most generic stuff, something that's already super generic. that's easy. That's easy. I feel like
Elevator
that's probably
music type shit.
Which is really tough because like sync is a big part of the industry. Like that's a tough one right there. But that is one thing I'm very curious about is will we ever have AI classic, or will that simply not work? Like will there ever be music that's purely made by AI and it like shifts the culture and we're all like, yo, like, do you guys listen to the new what have you?
Yeah.
And it's pure AI. I'm really curious about that. I don't know if it's
I don't
possible
know either, man.
because I don't know if it's missing the point of art.
I for sure do think it is missing the point. I saw like a pretty good quote where it's like AI would be sick if it would help us with like day-to-day tasks. Like, can it improve like building something? Can it improve whatever? It shouldn't be for fucking art. It could be a very useful tool.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be really for like fake emotion shit, you know?
Yeah, that's maybe not the strength of AI, but other things could be.
Yes.
And I agree. Even as an audio engineer, it's already coming to play. Stem separation.
Exactly,
is an AI
man.
thing, and
I watched sorry to cut you off.
No.
I watched a really interesting video of someone explaining how, like, because there's a lot of fear of losing jobs with AI. And like the topic was like truck driving, and he's like, honestly though, there's always been evolution, because we used to be on a horse and buggy, now we're in these big ass trucks. Like that's already like that eliminated the need for certain jobs already. So there will always be that evolution, and with that evolution, new shit will be created. Like when a big ass truck came in the game, you now need more mechanics, you need more parts, you need all this. So maybe with AI, it can be. I'm looking at a glass half full.
Yeah.
Like it's just the next logical step, and it'll unlock even more.
Well,
to do with that.
Realistically, to be successful, we have to look at it open-minded and,
yes.
and like really just take it on, because, yeah, if history is any indication, these kind of progressions don't necessarily go backwards and stop. It's hard to say what this whole thing is and how it happened and what's going to happen, and like hopefully we don't go full iRobot and stuff like that. Personally, like for example with self-driving cars and stuff, I kind of don't see it, because if you can hack that, that's really a problem. Who's liable, so on and so forth, like those kind of whatever. But yeah, I think as artists and as any type of industry, wherever AI is coming into play, we're gonna have to figure out how to make it work for us.
Exactly. I don't think it's going away.
Get eliminated, yeah.
Exactly. And fuck, man, if you're smart, you should be able to use it. I don't know if you watched the documentary on Play to Record, the record store downtown. Did you see that?
I haven't watched it yet.
It's pretty good,
clips.
man.
I need to watch it.
I would recommend it. Obviously, legendary store downtown. And towards the end of I'm spoiler alert, but you'll know it when you're watching it. It was talking about kind of the decline of vinyl, which we all know happened. And a lot of the DJs at the time were like, it is sad that, we're not flipping through records anymore and shit like that. But man, I used to have to carry like 2-3 crates, and then I was able to just bring my laptop. So I'd be lying if I said there was no benefit to this.
DJs have a serious insight to technological progress in that sense, because carrying crates of records is not
crazy, bro.
Everyone in the world would feel that. So if to go from that to having a laptop where you have way more tunes to play anyways, it's hard to ignore. That record store experience and everything is so amazing that it's still alive though.
Yes, it's made a nice resurgence.
Yeah, like there's nothing like it, and yeah, like even for DJs, when you play on vinyl a little bit, you're gonna learn something that you'll take to the Serato as well. Like, yeah.
That's what I think with AI, man. Like, let's use it appropriately. Like, I feel like when you use anything more than it's supposed to, like it outside of moderation, it becomes a problem. But if you can use it, like all this shit probably didn't exist in the 70s or something. But it's not like you throw everything else away. You can add.
At a certain point, the piano was a technological innovation.
Exactly.
That was there were probably a lot of piano haters back in the day.
Yeah.
Like the
We're taking our harpsichord jobs.
harpsichord is enough.
Yes. No, for sure, man. Don't fear the reaper. Essentially. But fuck, bro. Such an interesting conversation. We're approaching about an hour, which is wild. Can go all day. I do want to hear, though, just I'm a big music guy in general. What are you listening to these days? Doesn't have to be new. It could be anything. Like what's on the playlist for you?
Well, it's a tough answer because the majority of it probably is unreleased stuff that's like currently being worked on. That you made. That I made, or either as a collaboration, like stuff in the studio, because especially as an engineer, it's important to be hear it in the studio. It sounds great here. It needs to sound great on the iPhone speaker. It needs to sound great in headphones, on little headphones,
right,
on cars, in clubs. That's a big in stadiums. That's a big part of the whole. That's a big part of engineering. So yeah, listening to a lot of stuff that's being made, very cutting edge. I'm driving around and playing stuff that no one else even,
love that.
There's only like 5 people in the world that even heard this song.
I love that.
But aside from that, in the mornings right now, like me and my wife, we have our little daughter, a little 4-month-old baby. Like,
congratulations, bro.
Thank you. Love that. You know, so she wakes up early no matter what, pretty much. And our little morning routine lately is we go out to the family room and, you know, kind of, you know, get some food ready and kind of do some, like, rolling over, some tummy time, like play in the jungle gym and stuff, like all this kind of stuff. And I play, like, it's called, like, Great Courses.
Okay.
And there's one on solo piano music. And it's classical stuff. Like, it started with J.S. Bach, and it's like the Goldberg variations and the well-tempered clavier. And then it went to, I want to say it went to Beethoven. And this is stuff that I have never properly understood. I still don't know why they don't call their pieces with actual names. And it's just such and such number this, such and such number that. I still don't have a grasp of a lot of that stuff, but I'm listening to that right now to kind of see what's going on. And again, like, I'll take something from that and we'll be working on something that's like Toronto rap.
Yeah.
And that's going to influence me somehow. Recently been listening to some of my old reggae favorites. Like, King Tubby is like my guy when it comes to dub music. That's foundation for me. But since that YG Marley song came out, where they're sampling the Bob Marley Crisis, been listening to a little bit of Bob Marley, and new music, a lot of new R&B, like Victoria Monet, very like leading the way. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting a lot of stuff. I'll be all over the place listening to music, and I'll just pick it up.
Oh, I'm the same way, bro. And last question for you, just because I'm curious. One of the hardest questions you could ever ask. Favorite music of all time? Like stuff that was like your, like when you were that fucking 16-year-old, like this is my shit.
That is basically the hardest question.
Yes, it is.
And for me, that's never stopped. I have the stuff. When I was 16, I would find my favorite stuff and I would listen to it over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I have a summer of this. As I've gotten older, that happens less frequently, but it still happens. It was a few years ago, I listened to Vibes Cartel Pandagaza 2.0 like so much.
Love that. Love that.
Problematic fave, but there's just something like that album is just amazing.
He knows how to make a hit, man.
Oh my goodness. Like, I've never seen someone where their voice tends to make people move in a certain way. Like, it's like obviously the beat is sick. Most people would dance to the beat, but I don't know, somebody's voice just makes it go crazy. But yeah, like I said, King Tubby is like a major foundation with the dub music. I look at engineering very differently because of that kind of stuff, and that leads me into like I really love a certain era of like drum and bass and jungle from the UK and like in the 90s there, like Goldie, 4Hero, Ronnie Size, like Photech, the early stuff, and like that deep cuts there. But then you see Pink Pantheress, new artist.
I love, bro. Don't get me started.
When I first heard Pink Pantheress, I was
Pink
like,
Pantheress,
yes, man. Because then with drum and bass, I felt that it got way too perfect, way too, like the feeling wasn't there anymore. And then when she did her first album, I was like, yes, like this is exactly the feeling.
I think already a classic album. Break It Off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly.
That's my favorite
That's
song.
the one with the Adam F sample, I think. Like,
so good.
Amazing.
She's amazing, man.
Yeah, she's like one of those. She's a young visionary. Like some people just get it from the start. I feel like she's one of those people. She's just herself. As an artist, I feel like you really have to be in touch with yourself, and you're expressing yourself. So the more yourself you are, the better. Unconsciously, a lot of people aren't fully being themselves. You sometimes, especially when an artist starts, a lot of times they'll be influenced by their favorites so much, and they'll imitate so much. You grow out of it or whatever. But some people, they just can't be anything but themselves, and so right off the bat, they're making a mark. I feel like she's one of those type of artists. That's like Young Thug or something.
Yes.
Like Future's new album is one that I definitely listened to. That was really good. Like the like that. Oh man, I like that song.
Created quite the controversy.
But that's still the one I listen to the most.
Did you like the first of all, what do you think? Fuck it, man. I'll ask you about this Drake Kendrick Lamar shit. For me, I don't care about rap beef anymore. Like I just think it's like, I know traditional hip hop, like that is a part of it. For me, I just don't care. Like, you're both rich and this and that. What do you? But I listen to the songs. I quite like the Kendrick diss. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I like all of it. Because one thing that we're seeing right now is like artist friend of mine, Quincy Owens. We were just talking last night. He said, "This is LeBron versus Kobe. We never got to see LeBron versus Kobe."
True.
He was like, I think it was Orlando that prevented that from happening.
Yes,
back
Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard.
So, and I feel like in music there are a lot of parallels with Drake and LeBron, and there's a lot of parallels with Kendrick and Kobe. I feel like they themselves have also kind of
taken those personas
said that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's what we're seeing a little bit, which is cool. For a long time, people were saying, is they ever gonna like talk to each other, whatever?
I think we know the answer now to that.
But even in this way, talk to each other.
Oh, okay.
So we're seeing that now, and it's pretty cool. It's
got to keep going. I don't see it either one really folding.
As long as it's cool. For me, I'm all about the love and peace. I never want to see anything go weird in a certain way.
That's why I'm not a like. That's why like the other day I was thinking about like conflict in general, not just them, but in general, where I'm like, most of the time conflict is not profitable or the best way to go about things moving forward. Like usually it's from like finding a common ground and being able to move forward. So I'm thinking about this shit. I'm like, where does it end here? Like who's it really helping? Because I don't know, bro. Like certain young like Savage in like one of these guys' crews, like this could be their dream of like, let me do something to, you know, and unfortunately that is how it happens sometimes, especially in rap. Like, so that's where I think of it. Like right now it's been cool. I hope it doesn't get too crazy, bro. Like,
no, we can't, no. But
it can though.
Conflict can be productive in a certain way. Sometimes
if you communicate.
Sometimes the best friends fight at first.
100%.
Like you met by having a fight or something.
Yes.
Artistically, like that competition and everything, that can be very good. You said profitable. That's a whole other question, because that makes me think of like Tupac and Biggie, and like see how things get exploited and stuff. Again, that's where things get so messed up, especially as soon as the industry and money and business gets involved, is exploiting things. So yeah, that's a mess. But it's you know, it's not, it can't be that serious, but yeah, it's whatever.
I don't think so, bro. 'Cause I think some of like the rap beefs in the past, like something that I'm a huge Max B fan, and that hit him and Jim Jones, like that was really personal. Like they're from the same place, they were part of the same crew, like legal things were money, like that was some shit where it's like, no, this is not music, this is way deeper than that.
Yeah.
So this, if it stays to just music, I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's at least that's the arena that I'm in. Like Because that's one thing I noticed too. Sometimes people think that an artist is blowing up because of the stuff outside the music.
Yeah.
And that does happen. But even if that does happen, the music can only last so long, because we're not going to listen to something and we're not going to resonate with something so much just based off of the story outside of.
No, I think Tekashi's a great example of that, where yeah, he had some hits, bro, but no one's playing that guy now.
But even still, musically, if you forget all that other stuff, like that first track that came out with the Pierre Bourne and stuff,
yeah.
Like, if you forget about everything else, it still was kind of sick. So I feel like that's why it wouldn't have worked without that.
True.
But yeah.
That one with Fetty Wap, I can't lie. Like, if I hear that one to this day, I'll still remember that one.
Fetty Wap is a different artist, man. I saw a clip on Twitter. I don't even know what song it is, but he's literally singing like an R&B singer with runs and everything. I was like, wow, man. A lot of artists, I think they're stuck in a box as a rapper, but they're basically singing, and if they just take that one extra step, they might unlock a whole other world. But that's a whole other story. You asking me what I'm listening to right now.
I love that, man. Shout out Pink Panthers. I love that you brought her up. She's blowing up too.
Yeah.
Her star has risen a lot over the last couple of years. I love her, man. She was just here.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, legend. Yeah. Real young legend.
Yeah.
But
man, I want to think of one. I want to at least put you guys on to something. But let me not. If there's not something coming to mind right now, I don't want to go crazy. So
Pink Panthers is a good start.
Yeah, you could definitely start.
Very good start. But yo, I appreciate your time, bro. This was fucking awesome. Really good to chop it up with you.
It's great.
I appreciate you having me in the studio again. Shout out to Achieve Dreams.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything you want to plug for yourself, promote, talk about? Floor is yours.
Well, tune in with me, stay connected with me, because there's a lot of music being made, and surely a lot of music that's going to be coming out. I feel like the stuff, even last night, like, is better than ever before. Like, it's going up all the time. So you just stay connected with me, and I promise you're going to hear something. There's a lot of music that's coming. Follow me on Instagram, Audio Gibbs, Audio Gibbs. I'm trying to find a way to release more of my music in whatever form it might take. Like, I have the SoundCloud going crazy right now. I'm always uploading on SoundCloud.
That's my host for the podcast still. I still fuck with SoundCloud.
It just works, and anything that I can get on the streaming, I'm gonna be posting more there too. But aside from that, you follow me, you're also going to see a lot of artists that you haven't heard of before. Like, if you're following me, you're seeing stories where Chef and Space Jam are jamming to their video.
Yes, fucking love that shit. Love those guys.
Like, so there's so much music coming with Chef. Like, another artist that we did so much work recently, Broke Baby Mike. Like, man, there's a lot of artists. I don't want to leave. I want to say too many names because I'd definitely be leaving more people out. But just, yeah, stay tuned with me. We got events coming up. I'm about to DJ at Livations in June. Shout out Rianne and Livations. That's a place where everyone just, like, what I noticed at that event, everyone feels comfortable, be themselves, be able to let loose and jam to music, and it's really artist focused. Last time at this event, we had a portion where we were literally making music from scratch. Just had like, I had my DJ set up there, but I also had an MPC and a keyboard, because it's a bit weird, but I find that I can make music with that stuff, like, really fast.
Yeah.
It's like instant. So we're just making music from scratch. We were jamming. So Livations is another thing. I don't know, guys. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on SoundCloud. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on TikTok. Audio Gibbs on all those things. And get some stuff happening.
Love that, man. Shout out Audio Gibbs. I appreciate your time, bro. This was a very dope conversation. Versatile Vigilante. You know where to find us. Fucking watch this shit. Or don't. I don't care. But if you do, some gems in here, man. I appreciate everybody. Let's fucking get it.